Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This plant was effectively declared an emergency as part of the Project Orchids update. I didn't realise it was failing to this extent. So as I said in that video, something's got to happen with this or it's going to be lost. It's just failing badly. And the first job is to get it off the mount and see what I've got. If you see what I mean, and what are we working with? What have we got left? What can be kept? I don't know how easy it is. I mean, some of these roots have attached well, I must admit, so there is going to be some root damage, but I don't think there's much in the way of live roots on this plant anyway. Right, well, I think this is more likely to be the problem than anything else. This is the old zombie moss. It's been there a while and it's probably gone off. So we've probably got acidic media at the moment. And some plants will adapt. As the moss starts to become acidic, they just sort of get used to it because it's a sort of, it can be a slow process, and some are just ultra sensitive and will not have it, and so it takes the roots down quite quickly, and that may be, I mean, this is a distinct mushroom smell, definitely. So this is the main problem will be, I suspect, that this moss has just been around this root system too long. It should have been changed a while back. So the trouble is, you see, I've been using the live moss for some time now. I've sort of got it in my head that there's just, the zombie moss has gone. You know, it's long since got, it's not. It's still there on plants on mounts that haven't been remounted. They haven't been taken off and given another go. But this is coming off nicely. It's unfortunately what's left is dead roots. These are not live. There's a few root shoots there. There are a few new root shoots. Now those would be open to the air, which with a plant that's failing is no good. They need some moisture around them to get them going. So that's basically what's got to happen now. I'm just having a look over to see if we've got any. I think the few scale that I've got on here are bodies. They've long since been treated and forgotten. But, you know, nonetheless, I'll keep my eye on it. Scale will always go for a weak plant, you can guarantee it. You know, if there's three plants next to each other, two big strong ones and a weak one, the scale will be on the weak one and actually not on the other two. But I think we're okay on this. As I said, these are just falling off. These are bodies from where it's been dealt with before. So, not a happy root system here at all. And most of these roots are just papery, they're gone. Well, I'm going to trim them. They serve no purpose. Once they get all papery like that, they don't work. And all they do is clog up the works. If you're going to remount or repot something, they just get in the way, basically. See all these round here, these have gone. Gone. There's not going to be much left, I'm afraid, but there's no point in leaving roots once they've gone like this. No point at all. Right, so now we're getting down to the point where we need to go careful, because some of the ones that are left, they may have their root tip failed, but that doesn't mean to say they can't branch out. See, that's a potential brancher there. That's not. It can come out. But this is where the pointed scissors earn their keep, when you can get right in between 3 or 4 roots and just snip one. And not take out the whole bunch. Right, I think that'll do. Let's just take these stumps off. Yeah, see, this could even be that when this was mounted, I didn't take all of the original moss off, which wouldn't have been my moss, it would have been somebody else's. You know, so there could be even older moss lurking around at the base of the plant. I'm not saying there is or was, but that's a possibility. Now, what I'm going to have to do with this is choose a cane. Now, this is the most desiccated cane and the leaves are failing, so they're not going to go green again, they're going to fall off. So and this is where the new growth is that potentially can grow. That hasn't failed yet, it's not doing very good, but it hasn't failed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that up in a pot like that. That'll hang over the edge and this will get staked to hold it firm. But even these leaves are starting to go. Very soon this plant's going to be leafless. And then it will be totally dependent on pushing up a new growth and some actual roots. Otherwise it's just going to be lost. So we will clean up the mess. Let's just have a quick look at the mount. I don't think there's anything wrong on the mount. The mount is firm. You know, it's not rotting, so it's not the actual mount. So it's far more likely to be the moss. Far more likely. So that can be put to one side to be reused. Right, I need to go down in the shed, sort out a suitable pot, get some media in here, and we'll get this potted up and staked and see if it will recover. I'll be back. Okay, let's see what we can do. This was leftover mix from a prior go at something. It's got the grow stones in it, some charcoal and its bark. I've taken out the larger parts of the bark, hopefully leaving smaller pieces, because I'd rather have a smallish mix. And I've got some live moss that I'm going to put in the top of the mix, not down in the pot. Being a black hair type, it's probably not going to like my winter temperatures that much, so it's going to slow up. That's if it ever gets going again. And as a consequence, I don't want if we get roots down in the pot, I don't want them staying wet. So the bottom of the pot hasn't got anything to hold moisture to any extent. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to set that up in the pot like that. So there'll be a stake coming up here to hold that. That will just flop over the edge and the roots are going to be buried in what will now be a mix of the same mix but with some broken up live moss in, and that should help hold moisture at the base of the plant, but not right down in the pot. The idea being that hopefully the extra moisture will get some roots going, and then if the plant can get going before it gets too cold, then the bottom of the pot won't stay wet any length of time, if we can get it to that stage. So that will be the mix for the top of the pot. It's a fair percentage of moss in there, so that bit will be in the top of the pot. So I know what's going to go wrong. What's going to go wrong is the stake won't hold the plant because it's a very shallow pot, one of those, which is ideal for something that's got very few roots. I'm just going to put a little bit of the mix in behind the plant because the plant's going to get pressed back against the pot. Otherwise it won't be able to get it down in there afterwards. And then this is just going to get dropped round. Not going to press this down in any shape or form, it's just going to be basically flopped around the base of the plant. And then hopefully those few little roots, they're not very big, there's not much of them, but hopefully with a bit of moisture around them they might get going, and if they get into some fresh media they might take off, which is the hope. If they don't, I suspect the plant will be lost. It's as simple as that. It's far from happy. Right, so that's it, that's all it's going to get. I'm holding it all the time I'm doing this. I should be able to let go now, and then with any luck, it's actually quite secure as it is, but handling it is going to wobble it around basically. So I'm going to shove that down the very edge of the pot like that, and then just put a clip on it just for that extra security. What sort of clip do we want? choice is, I want a grabby one, I think. Something like that. Yeah. So that's gone round the stake and round the plant, but it's not gripping it so hard that it's going to bite into it. So there we go. And get ready to stand back in shock and horror. I've done a label. Is that wishful thinking? Am I going to have to throw that away? I thought, well, let's think positive here. Let's do a label. So there with its shiny new label. I was just feeling in a silly mood, really. But I'm always getting complaints that I don't do the label at the right time, which is at the point when something's mounted or potted when I know what it is. And then later on I forget what it is and it doesn't get done. So there we go. And we'll put that somewhere out of the bright light, relatively shaded, having given it a good wash through, because although that moss is moist and the top of the pot is, the rest of it will be a bit dusty. So it'll get a good flush through now, and then we'll just cross our fingers and hope and see what happens. As I said, the leaves are failing on here. These are not working, so these are not photosynthesizing anymore. And there's only a couple left on here that are, and the rest are starting to go. So it needs a new growth and some new roots. Right, cross your fingers, cross everything, and we'll see what happens. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.